Assalamu alaikum. That is, may God's peace be upon you. Welcome back to the power of educating our own. We have been gone for a while, but we are back, back. I am Marsha Nivens Muhammad, and I am here with my co-host.
Patricia Salahuddin, welcome.
And Quran Shakir, we are so happy to have you.
Absolutely. And so we've been MIA for the month of Ramadan. And so we hope that for those who were recognized in the month of Ramadan, that you had a beautiful month of Ramadan, and that you received all the jewels and blessings that come with the month. We are back to have some impactful, meaningful, productive conversations as it relates to topics of discussion that impact our schools, our children, our families, just to really build up our educational system as we work together to do that. This show is hosted by the Clara Muhammad Schools Network. The network is a network of 19 schools that include full-time, weekend, which we also identify as strong in, and virtual online schools. And so we come to you every Sunday at 7 p.m. to have these discussions and to provide resources for strengthening those institutions to be the best of what they were intended to be. And tonight is no different. We are going to have the discussion Raising the Bar, Accreditation and the Pursuit of Educational Excellence. And so for the work that we do in our institutions, we're always striving for what is the best, right? And so when we think about a school as an institution, the goal is for that school to be accredited. And when we think about the schools that are in our network, we have schools at various different stages of development. But ultimately, we all are striving towards accreditation. And tonight, we're going to talk about what that looks like, what it entails, how do we get there, how do we prepare for it, what do we need to be thinking about, what is it we need to be doing. And we're going to talk to some experts, and we're also going to talk to those who are going through the process currently. And it's always good to get that perspective from different angles. So we're going to bring our guests on with us tonight. We have Dr. Khan with us, and we're going to give everyone an opportunity to introduce themselves. Dr. Khan is with the Muhammad Schools of Atlanta, but then she's just a powerhouse in her own right, in her education background, and we'll let her share that with you. We have, I'm going to call them the Abdullah sisters, and they are from Nashville, Tennessee, and they are actually going through the accreditation process as we speak. So it's going to be so good to hear about their experience. And then we have Sister Larissa Henderson, who represents the accreditation process for them in Tennessee. And so we're going to get it from all of those angles. But before we jump into the conversation, for those who are watching us online, whether you are seeing us from YouTube or our Facebook channel, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat, give the salams, greet those of us who are on here. We always like to know where you're tuning in from, and we'll spotlight some of those comments throughout the show. But let's just jump right into the conversation. I think we'll probably just start off with just letting everyone introduce themselves and kind of giving us your background in accreditation or your experience with accreditation. So I'll start with Dr. Khan.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Walaikum assalam.
Just wanted to do a quick mic check to make sure that I could be heard. But I'm Zahira Shakir Khan. I'm a member of the Atlanta Masjid community, and I helped the Muhammad Schools of Atlanta 25 years ago become the first accredited Islamic school in North America. So I'm very, very excited about that. At the time, we were, about 15 years into the reopening of our school. Imam Muhammad's leadership was in place at the time. And initially, he set out 25 goals for the American Muslim community at that time. And the first goal was to have all of our schools fully accredited. And so, with that, the Atlanta Muhammad Schools of Atlanta wanted to be the flagship. So we jumped out first and were able to accomplish that. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later on.
Thank you for that, Dr. Khan. I'm going to move on to the Abdullah sisters. Aaliyah, I see your mic is open, so I'm throwing it to you. Oh, maybe she doesn't hear me. Oh, no. We see your mic open. Okay, we don't hear you, so maybe.
I thought I heard her.
Oh, did you?
I think so.
You all may not be able to hear her. I think she was having some issues getting her mic working. Can you guys hear me?
We can.
Yes,
go ahead,
ma'am.
Martina. Go for it.
Awesome. Okay, well, assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Sister Yakina Abdullah out of Nashville, Tennessee, working with the Clara Muhammad School of Nashville. So what I am actually an alumni of Clara Muhammad School. My children currently attend Clara Muhammad School, and I serve as the project manager for the major projects of the school, including fundraising, and I'm on board for the accreditation process as well. So I serve as the project manager over that, just ensuring that we meet the deadlines, guidelines, have everything that we need, touch base and connect the information or get the documentation that we need and submit it through the proper channels. And I work with with a principal as well as Dr. Henderson, who has joined us on this call. Who has been a wonderful resource to us. So we are so happy that she can join us today as well. And that's just a little bit about me.
Wonderful. Aaliyah, we're going to try you again.
I sound like him. Can you all hear me now?
Yes, we got you.
Okay, I had to get my son in here to help me a little bit. I sound like him. I am the new principal at the Clara Muhammad School. And as Sister Yakina was saying, we are now in the process of trying to become accredited. We just finished and completed our candidacy part. And we have, I guess, a couple of more steps. I was talking to Dr. Henderson today, but we have a couple of more steps and inshallah finishing. So inshallah, I'm going to give my perspective and from what we've been going through, but it's nothing like having someone here who knows the ins and outs. So
thank you for that. And so, and Sister Larissa, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us who you are and about the work that you do.
Okay. Good evening, ladies. My name is Larissa Henderson, and my full-time job, I guess you want to say, is Director of Pupil Services for the Oak Ridge Schools. But I have been working with Cognia for many, many years, when they first started out as Advanced Ed. Recently did the candidacy review for the Clara Muhammad School in Nashville, and they have passed. They got their candidacy and everything in, and I've done several other schools as well. As we get into this, I will tell you the process is going to be changing a little bit. I'm not real sure exactly how or when, but I do know that it's on the table. So I'm thinking it's going to be improved and better.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. And so accreditation, it feels like a big, heavy lift, scary maybe for some. And so we want to unpack it, right? We want to unpack it and talk about what that means, right? Why do it in the first place? Dr. Khan talked about, doing that over 25 years ago for the Muhammad Schools of Atlanta, and like what even drove that decision. So let's talk about it.
So Marsha, before we do, I just want to make sure that our guests and our audience understand our drive, our personal drive for doing this. And it goes back to a part of what Dr. Khan said about Imam W.D. Muhammad, may Allah be pleased with him, gave us that command, that mandate, that charge, that challenge for all of us to be accredited. So now we're into maybe 3 decades or more since he said that. And how many schools do we have accredited? So as a network, as we looked at where we're going, we thought it was important to make it relevant and something easy for our schools to see that they can do it. So it may sound daunting and it may sound like a big challenge, but we believe it can be done. So that's why we brought in the boots on the ground folks who are in the midst of it right now, so they can tell you what it's like and their journey and what they've done, as well as we've brought in what we call our experts. And these experts like Dr. Khan, Dr. Henderson, and next week, we will have someone for CISNA who's a part of an accrediting agency. So we're looking at having these individuals here to help you, our schools, our educators, understand you can do it. Okay, Marsha, go ahead.
No, listen, that's it. But then when you said boots on the ground, you threw me off, and I was ready to like pop my fan. But yes, let's talk about it. Like, so because Dr. Khan talked about that point in time 25 years ago, I guess let's start there, right? Like, you know, the charge was given for let's get these schools accredited, and what were the thoughts? What were the thoughts, and how did you get from that charge to accreditation?
Okay. All right. Okay. As I said, I wanted to start basically with a almost, I guess you would say, a command in the Quran that says, and it's in Surah 20, Taha, and it's Ayat 114. And it says, "Oh my Lord, increase me in knowledge." And basically, the context of that particular ayat or sign is from the fact that when you're reading the Quran, that you don't want to do it in haste. You want it to be revealed to you in a timely manner and in a way that you can accept it. So I want you to think of the process of accreditation as a process that occurs over time, where you are increasing your knowledge in terms of having a quality school. And then following that, I wanted to go back to the language of Imam Muhammad when he says that education is our number one priority. And he often said that in a lot of different settings, a lot of different lectures, or when he would come to graduations or promote programs and different things for the schools. And also with naming the Clara Muhammad schools after his mother, it was a way of honoring her too, by putting her children's education first and foremost. And so that's the spirit, knowing that we want to increase our knowledge of how to do things well and our understanding of not only propagating our religion, but also growing as Muslims as well. And then also with understanding that the center of that, or the core of that, is in education, what we teach, what we have our children reading, what we have them doing in various settings, from an online school to a weekend school to a Talim service or to a khutbah or whatever. We're always in the process of trying to increase our knowledge. Now, that also brings me to the main question that I think you have to ask yourself. And that question is, what do you want to accomplish through this accreditation process? How does it benefit you? What is it that is your outcome, for it? Usually schools that go after accreditation, they want to become recognized as offering a quality education, first of all, to their students. And then secondly, to get the benefits that being accredited brings to you. At the time that we were going through the initial process in Atlanta, there were a number of openings for grant opportunities for other services. But what you had to have is you had to be an accredited school. So we went through the formal process, and at that time, it was called the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools, SACS, way back in the day. And then they changed the name to Advanced Ed, and now it's called Cognia. So that was what we were doing at that time. Now, because we were a model, and as I said, because we were the first Islamic school to go through the process in Georgia, Mark Elbert, who I think is still Elhart, who is still, I believe, the director of Cognia. I believe is that right, Ms. Henderson?
Yeah, he is still in an administrative role there. Yes.
Yes, right. So at the time, the Atlanta school was kind of used as a model. Well, how do you look at Islamic schools? What is different, there? And so we had an opportunity in a way to kind of set a new template for that. Also around the same time, CISNA, the Council of Islamic Schools of North America, was also interested in accreditation. So we were fortunate enough to kind of be on the trial end, the first kind of child in the water to kind of figure out how this was going to look for Islamic schools. And I'm very, very proud, all praises due to Allah, to say that I think that template that was developed for us also helped the Catholic schools, the private Christian schools, and other schools as well in terms of going through the accreditation process. So the first thing is decide what is the benefit for you for this, with that. And if it's a great benefit, then I would say you really, that'll give you a lot of extra steam. The other thing that I would probably say as well is to understand the language that will be used. First of all, if you are just trying to have a local school, district, or be a part of a local school district or program, then you want to take a look at what's called certification. Certification is when an individual is deemed as possessing the necessary skills and standards, for you. So looking at whether or not your teachers are certified, whether or not your, if you have a lunch program, whether or not that meets your local standards or whatnot. So look at your certification first. And then after that, the broader umbrella is accreditation, where accreditation looks at the process, the overall process of your meeting quality standards in operations, procedures, and other, types of things with that. And so you have to kind of start at the basic line. If you don't have a building, or if you don't have people working for you, then you're really not up for accreditation yet. You got to start with that lower level of just making sure that you meet the certification requirements for your building, for your teachers, for your staff members, and other things. And then moving up into the larger umbrella of accreditation. And then once again, going back to your mission and your vision. How does this benefit us? And what are we going to be able to accomplish with this? Now, having worked with the Muhammad schools, as well as doing peer reviews for other private schools, religious schools, and also public schools as well, Cognia has changed, and CISNA, the emphasis has changed over the years. We used to do a lot of what was called bean counting. Do you have this many books in your library? Do you have how many teachers are certified? How many, what's your budget number, and that kind of thing. But now they're taking a look more at continuous improvement. What have you done to make your school a better school than it was 5 years ago when we came? And generally speaking, your accreditation cycle is about every 5 years. And that's enough time for you to have an annual school improvement plan, a 5 to 10 year strategic plan developed, and other things, so that how close are you getting to fulfilling your mission and your vision over a period of time, and what kinds of things have you done to accomplish, that, rather than how much of this do you have, how much of that do you have, and whatnot. So I'm very, very pleased with the process. And then also the ultimate test is what are you able to provide for your students that represents a quality educational experience, whether you're K through 3 or K through 12 or whatever you are. How do we know at the end of the process that you have, or the timeline that you have your students, what are you able to say you have been able to produce? All right. So that's my spiel on it. And then if there's any way I can help anybody, please let me know.
Yeah, no, that was thorough, right? And so as you were talking, one of the things that I was thinking about was, you know, and it came up for me before I say it, but it came up for me because in our community meeting today at the masjid, we were talking about the prospects of full-time school, right? So we currently have a weekend format. We had a full-time school, and post-COVID, we weren't able to revive it, right? So coming back into the work of full-time institution, the ultimate goal is accreditation, but it sounds like, right, for a new institution, that's not necessarily something you jump into. But how long, I guess, would you say that a new school should, how much time should they use to consider going to accreditation? Is that something you do in year 1 or do you wait to year 5? What is that like?
Ms. Henderson, Dr. Henderson,
Yeah.
they used to give a number for that, to say that you had to sort of be in existence. Like the first year when you opened a new school, for example, you weren't necessarily immediately accredited, but you had to be in for a certain amount of years now, or, operating, and then you would be able to apply for candidacy. I don't know recently what the process is now.
Okay, they have changed the format somewhat. I was jotting down things as you were talking. Um, Now with the candidacy, there is a candidacy workbook that the schools have to complete to see if they meet the criteria as a candidacy review, and that's basically some of the same things that's going to happen during the accreditation. When you talked about the accreditation of counting the books and the library and all that, I've had to do that part. We don't do that part anymore.
Right.
So that piece has changed, but there are some things there's called assurances now that they ask for proof of. One is like safety and so forth. So if you have safety drills, and I know now with schools, especially with public schools, and I think the Muhammad schools will be the same. You have someone from the fire department come out and
Right.
check your entrances and all that. They want to make sure the buildings are
Right.
safe and so forth, and go from there. One of the things we do look at, the candidacy is a required piece. So when you go through the candidacy process, there used to be a team of folks that come in.
Right.
There's still a team, but the team can be as small as one, which is me. I have done one by myself before. And that one has to be somebody coming into the physical building, looking and seeing what's going on and going from there. And then after you do the candidacy, there is the workbook that you have to send out, and the school has to complete that. The good thing of what they've done over the years to change this is that whoever is assigned to your school for your candidacy review, that person stays with you through the accreditation piece. So you don't have a different person coming in. I will tell you with the Clara Muhammad School that I recently did, we became like brothers and sisters. They had my cell phone number. They could call me at any time. If something came up, I could shoot them an email. So it's not like it's a out to get you kind of thing. It's to kind of help you along. And so you become a part of the team. It's more of a team effort to go from there. The other thing too, they used to have a timeline, and with Candidacy, once you start, they would like for you to do it within that year, but they don't give you a certain time within that year. Like if you do the accreditation, you have to come up with a definite time and so
Right.
forth. The
Right.
good thing about the Clara Muhammad school that I did, I will be with them until they tell me they don't need me. They don't want me anymore. So I have latched on to them. And that's the way it's set up now. So it becomes a partnership. And we go, there's things back and forth. One of the things that I will do as you start to work through the candidacy and also the accreditation, I will tell schools, send me something to look at before you put it in that booklet and let me review it. If I see anything that needs to be added, or if you have any questions, and I can say, I don't quite understand this. Can you add a little bit to that? And we kind of go that way. It has become more of a partnership. Once you go through the candidacy review, is good for 6 years. And it goes into the accreditation stage, which is the next stage. And you can go through the accreditation after the candidacy when you feel like you're ready for that, because it gets in a little bit more intense. But you still have the same person on board. And basically, if you got through the candidacy, you're going to get through the accreditation. It's just adding more layers to it as well. The accreditation does not have to be somebody coming on site. It can be done via Zoom now. So, and kind of go from there. But now what they have come out with too, once you get your candidacy and you get your accreditation, there's they call it a mid-year evaluation. And that you're sent a document, and you just say from the last time you came in, this is what we're doing now. So it's like a progress report kind of thing. And again, that same person that did your evaluation, your candidacy, and your accreditation is still your contact person, unless they decide they're not going to be with Cognate anymore. Which when I first got into the accreditation, when you talked about SACs, I'm going, oh Lord, this is you going way back, because that's when you first started. I remember that's when you had come out, and I'm telling you, when she talked about counting the books, we had to actually go into a library and count books. We had to count the number of parking spaces. We had to look at the playground stuff. And so it was a real intensive kind of thing. And it lasted for like a couple of days. It wasn't just a one-day thing. So they've kind of shortened it a little bit. But I think the best piece is it becomes a partnership. The schools I have worked with, if I become your lead evaluator, I can't swim, so we not going down with the boat. We're going to get this boat from point A to point B and go from there. If I don't know the answer, I'm going to find somebody who does know the answer and kind of work with you and go from there. It does, like you said, open doors for a lot of schools, because people come in looking for that extra layer, which is the accreditation piece, because then they know you've got a lot of good things going on in your building. Not saying schools don't, but Cognate's put that seal or stamp of approval on it, and it does carry a lot of weight.
And especially now with a lot of states moving towards school choice and allowing vouchers and other things, you cannot accept a voucher unless you are accredited. So if your state, for example, right now, Georgia has this Georgia Promise Scholarship opportunity. In order to have the state pay those students to come to our school, we must be accredited. One other thing that I wanted to mention that you brought up was that the 5 assurances that you have to sign. One of them relates to an audit. You must have had a financial audit within, I think it's the last 2 years. I believe the last 2 years. And so if you are going up for accreditation, or if your accreditation is coming up soon, or either, now you have to say that you have to have a CPA actually do a professional audit that will be presented, and then you sign off that audit has been done. Also, you have to do some type of assurance as well in terms of the curriculum that you are using, whether or not it's the state adopted curriculum or if it's the National Common Core, and I don't know if that's even around anymore, but you have to say that this is what we offer our students. So I would say that your board of directors in each case and your school administrators have to be really, really firm on those assurances, and then the checklist or whatever the booklet that you may be working toward. The one thing that I don't particularly like now is that I miss those visits when I would go to out and actually see a school, because you can look really, really good on paper.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
you have to really, I think, walk in a building, talk
Uh-huh.
to people directly, and meet people, and then you get a sense of what is really going on. Because I can pick out the best surveys and include those in my data. I can, show you my latest fabulous audit, and I can really, tell a really, really good story. And I think that that's also the beauty of our Islamic schools having the opportunity to have Cisna come in as well to take a look, because they will only do an on-site review.
Okay. Yes. And
I have a question. I have a question about that process. In the past, you also would meet with parents and students and staff. Is that still a part of this new process?
that's left up between the lead, well, they call them regional evaluators. So we've got a new title, but that's left up between them and the school. Now, I will tell you what I have done when I've done the accreditation, because I know in the world we live in now, you can Zoom everything. So I would set that up and we would do it via Zoom, because sometimes it's hard for parents to get off from work to come in or whatever. We would do it that way. So you can do, when you go through the accreditation, you can do a Zoom. For the candidacy piece of it, that might be something that the lead person will work out with the school to have parents there when they have, it's called the leadership overview. And that's what's done in person. And you can have a panel of people there to talk to with you, or what I've also done to accommodate parent schedules and so for and even principal schedules, because their schedules are crazy too. If you're doing a system, is I've got to meet with the main person. So, for example, if it's a system, I'm going to meet with the superintendent and that group and so forth. But I may tell them I need to have a Zoom meeting or an in-person meeting with your principals. I want to be able to see what they're doing in their classrooms, what they're doing in their schools. Some principals are very creative. They will join you on a Zoom, and then they will take you on a virtual tour of their building, because a lot of them have those presentations now when parents want to see what's going on in their school and go from there. When I go in on site, I like to I go into rooms and sit down for a few minutes and take notes. But I love talking to the kids. If you really want to know what's going on, you talk to the students, because they're going to tell you. It amazes me when I went to early learning, because I am certified to do every level of cognia accreditation and candidacy and so forth. But sit down, and I sat down in this one classroom. It was elementary, no, it was preschool, and the teacher's getting ready to do a story and combine art and so forth, and she was handing out stuff. Had three little boys that came and brought me paper and crayons and sat with me at a table because they wanted to show me what they were doing. And I could tell by her body language that she was very concerned. And I'm thinking, these are three that she thinks is going to get her in trouble because they're back there talking to me. And so when it was over with, she said, "I am so sorry." I said, "Oh, no. I learn a lot when kids talk to me." I said, "I have been in education for 50 plus years, so I kind of know what's going on." But you get the different perspectives and stuff. With the assurances that you talked about as well, in the candidacy, you have to show the items that you have to meet those things. So, for example, if you've had the fire marshal come out and do their little safety inspection, you got to show that document. They're requiring that now. And so you just can say, I saw it during the visit. It can be wherever you got it stored. Also, with your audit, copy of all that, because I think they are finding that people are saying that they have it and they really don't have it.
Right.
Yeah, so they're getting a little bit more tight on that, but that's through the candidacy piece. If you don't have something, that will not keep you from getting the candidacy, but it will keep you from getting the accreditation.
Right.
Yeah, so the candidacy, they can approve it and say, I will say, I need this by, if you're going to do accreditation, I've got to have it. So by the time we do the accreditation cycle, they can get with their auditor and get something to me. Because sometimes you come in and the auditor hadn't done your books yet, so you don't have anything from that current year. But if you have something from the previous year, that might work. So I think they call us RAEs now. I think if you get an RAE that is going to be a team player, they're going to stick by you because their goal is to make sure that you meet the requirements for candidacy, that you're ready to go to accreditation, and also that you meet the requirements for accreditation.
But in the final analysis, and your point is really well taken, that you have to have someone that is favorable towards working with you and ensuring success, because
Yes,
some of them will say, just send me everything. I think there was a book that we had to upload stuff to.
yes.
And then some of them will say, no, I just want to see everything and I want to review it that way. And then, but some of them will want to work with you. So forming a relationship as soon as you find out, and it seems like Nashville is pretty lucky, Dr. Anderson, to have you. As soon as you find out who your lead evaluator is, forming a relationship, with them. I would go out, like we went over to Mark's office. We had him come and tour the school. We had the other members of the community. We reached out to them, and we did a lot of things to have relationships with people, so that when they came to our school on site, it was kind of like they already knew us. And because I worked jointly in the public school system and with the Muhammad schools, a lot of times they would pull people from the public school that I knew. And so I would say, oh, yeah, here you're going to see Muhammad schools. There's some great things happening over there. And, so it's that relationship building that you really have to do.
Right. And that is very crucial too. I think for a good evaluation, just like I said, if I get assigned to a school, then we become partners. It's not like I'm coming out to get you. My goal is to make sure you have what you need in place for your school, for the candidacy piece, as well as if you're going through accreditation for that piece as well. So, but yeah, we do a lot of behind the scenes work, so to speak.
Excellent. And so just checking back in, if you're just watching us, you are watching The Power of Educating Our Own. Today we are discussing accreditation, and we're discussing the ins and outs of it. And so I wanna pop over to the Clara Muhammad School of Nashville, and I want to know from you all what made you decide to go through accreditation, and what is it like?
So one of the main reasons that we wanted to go for accreditation was to increase the opportunities for the children at Clara Muhammad School. Not only that, increase the opportunity of raising funds to be able to provide a really good quality education and potentially add more programs to the Clara Muhammad School, such as STEM and things of that nature to kind of get our children geared up and ready to go out into the future. One of the other things that we wanted to do was create an opportunity, because we are a school that does require tuition to be paid. So by opening ourselves up and getting accredited and gaining more funding for the school, it would potentially open up the amount of students we would be able to take in as well. We could potentially offer more scholarships to children who may not be able to afford tuition, or discounted scholarships or sponsorships, just to be able to, like, I guess, broaden our net of children that we're able to reach and help. Um, we know that public school can be very overwhelming. I didn't go to public school until I was about ninth grade. I was in Clara Muhammad from pre-K to eighth grade. Major blessing. And public school was a big, it gave me anxiety. It was a lot going on, a lot of moving parts. And so that was different for me, because I was coming from a background where the student to teacher ratio was significantly smaller, or where the teachers were more involved in your educational process and making sure that you have everything that you needed. But I was fortunate enough to have come from a school that focused on independent learning, critical thinking, problem solving, and focusing on those things, so that when I was introduced to that environment, that was significantly larger from the one that I came from, it wasn't hard for me to keep a strong grasp on my education and my grades, and maintaining the things and the study behaviors that I had learned from my previous school. So that's one thing that we definitely want to continue to gift to the children coming up, is the ability to be able to think independently, work independently, motivate yourself, and critically think, so that you're not just kind of like a number in the midst of a bunch of different hundreds, or even 1,000 children, depending on which school you attend. So yeah, that was one of the main things that we wanted to do. Just continue to offer opportunities to the children, and let them know that there are, more than one option to education, and you don't have to just be thrown in a school and try and figure it out. You can be somewhere, and we can offer scholarships or sponsorships to those who may need this type of education.
I
Wonderful.
love it. What
Go
did
ahead.
that process look like for you as a school? Like, when did you make this decision? How long did it take before you actually got engaged in the process itself?
Okay. So for that, I'll let Principal Abdullah answer that, because I actually came in the middle of the process to just kind of see things along and stay on top of the things that we needed to get done in order to get this process moving a little bit faster, and smoother. So Principal Abdullah was actually the one that initiated everything, put a lot of work in initially to get everything started. I'll let her uh, address that, speak to that question.
So for me, can you all hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
But so for me, when I first came in, I know Sister Mahasan, she's been the principal for well over I want to say over 40 years. So she has been doing it, and it was only based off of fundraising, tuition, and donations. So I was able to, when I first came in as teaching, I was able to see the I want to say, like, the struggles of being able to come up with, like, technology to be able to provide it for the children, and the struggle with paying teachers and all of these things. And I know, now it's an easier way because they offer so much funding and all of these things, but you have to be accredited in order to access all of these things. So my main thing was, when I first came in, because when you first come in, you have to do something that's different a little bit and shake it up a little bit. So we wanted to, just try and put our hands in it and see how we can do it. And I will say, in the beginning, I did think that Dr. Henderson was out to get me. Yes. But I realized after she called and we talked, and she called and we talked, I was like, okay, I just told her today, I love you, because she's helped out so much. She's given us so much information. And it's been a process, and it may be taking longer than normal, but inshallah, we're one step down, and we have a couple of more steps to go. But inshallah, with persistency and a little dedication and hard work, we're going to get it done, and we'll be able to provide, all of the things without a struggle. And it'll be something that's easy. And, that way the teachers and the principal can actually focus on other things other than, just having to make sure, okay, the financial part of it, or, something like that. You can work on other things to actually be able to grow the school and make the school better and everything like that. So that's one of the reasons why we start.
Can I give you a couple of suggestions? One is that you get your community to see this as an initiative.
Yes, ma'am.
We, in Atlanta, the whole community got behind making sure that we, were ready for our visit, and that we were, on point with everything that we needed to do. We even had brothers that slept in the masjid to make sure that there was no speck of dust when that review team came in that morning, with that. And then so it was an entire community effort. And this brings I'm going to get a little emotional about this, but it was announced at Juma that we were an accredited school, that we had made this accreditation. And it was alhamdulillah, and the whole masjid. I don't know, Quran, if you were there or not, but when it was announced at Juma that we were accredited, it was just like, Allah's blessings on all the angels that come down and deliver.
I know the roof went off, like all the mountains and stuff.
Yeah. And so get your community behind you, and let this be a masjid project. And that way that gives you additional momentum. The other thing that I would say is that get a timeline. If you pass your candidacy, say now in 2 years, we want to be ready for our accreditation.
Right.
Don't hurry up and wait and just say, okay, we got 6 years, we can play around with it. Don't do that. Say that by this time, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. So get a timeline and get your community behind it, inshallah.
Yes.
I want to add to what Dr. Khan said about get your community behind you, and say to the Nashville school, because I was waiting for you to finish to say this, is that as a part of the national community, we are behind you too. We're very proud of you and very excited. That's why we thought it was important to do this. So we're behind you too. You need that local support, but please also know that we're here supporting you and cheering you on also nationally.
Yes,
absolutely. And the thing I thought about is that, like, it gives us just more examples, right, to have in our midst for the fact that this thing can be done, right? So yes, we have Muhammad Schools of Atlanta, and we have now the Clara Muhammad School in Nashville that is going through it, right? I was just saying earlier that in our community meeting in Newark, New Jersey, we were talking about just today, with our prospect of a school, the ultimate goal is accreditation. And so the decisions that we make today impact, or we have to consider what we're doing today in preparation for that ultimate goal. And so that leads me to my next question, and that's how is accreditation different for an Islamic school? And then I have a part B to that, and that part B is if either Dr. Khan or Dr. Henderson, if you can tell us, like, does the school, does the institution that the school is operates under, can it be associated with the masjid, or does it need to be a separate entity? And this is a conversation that I hear in the community that I'm in, right? And so I figured it would be helpful to have this conversation and this platform so that we get a clear understanding. So the first one is, how did I miss the first one? I got so focused on the second one.
How is it?
How is it
How's it
different?
gonna be
Yes.
different?
The first one is, how is it different for an Islamic school? How's accreditation different for an Islamic school? And the second is, does the institution have to be housed under a different umbrella than the masjid?
Okay, the
I knew
accreditation
Dr. Khan.
piece.
Hold on. Dr. Khan is speaking, but she's on mute.
Yes. Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
That's
No,
okay.
I was just going to say that basically, in my opinion, the major difference is just that in an Islamic school, we just add the part about the Islamic teachings and then the Quran and other things. We just add that to the curriculum piece, and then we also add that in terms of your school practices and other activities. So it's just basic. Everything else is pretty much the same. Like we have operational standards, we have the same, curriculum, same leadership standards and domains and everything. It's just that Islamic piece is added into it. And then also the outcome of, in addition to just basically having a proficient academic student in academics, you also want to have proficiency in learning your religion. That's another outcome that we
Yes.
have. Yeah.
Yes, and I think she's right. When you look at the information for going through candidacy and also going through accreditation, it's the same. It doesn't matter who you are because they can't separate it. I mean, we're going through and looking at what's going on in your building, but you're going to be different based on because of your religion. I'm working with the Catholic Diocese in Nashville right now because they're getting ready to go through it in maybe another year and a half or so. So they got the same booklet that Cognia sends out. It doesn't discriminate. We know that based on the type of school and what you do, it's going to be different. But that's where I think that partnership with whoever is your lead person coming in from Cognia, you need to develop that relationship so they kind of get acclimated to what's going on and so forth and go from there.
And then the second
Yeah.
part of the question is
Another thing, Marsha, you can simultaneously go through Cognia and CISNA. CISNA even has a way now that if they accredit you, because they use the same standards that Cognia has, if they accredit you, then you're grandfathered into Cognia as well. But you can do it simultaneously. And for the past up until 21, that's the way we did it. And now this coming year, because Muhammad Schools is up again in 2026, they may decide to just go the CISNA route first, the Council of Islamic Schools, and then let them make a recommendation to Cognia that, yes, they got all your standards as well.
Yeah, and we're going to talk a lot about that next week when we have the executive director from CISNA on the show.
Okay.
So that'll be a great discussion that we'll have then.
And so for the part B of the question, so in terms of a school being connects, because some of our schools, so if we think about the schools that are in our network, right? Some schools have a separate entity, meaning that the school has its own registration with the state, own 501c3 status, all those things, right? And then there are some institutions that are connected to the masjid, the religious institution. Is there a hard and fast rule that says it needs to be separate or not?
We did. We separated ours at the time that we first went into it because we were told we had to. And that's basically, once again, related to the finances and to the governance. There are certain governance standards that you have to meet. And then when who are you accountable to? And so it's easier if you are separated. Now, if you are a weekend school or an online school, then you may not have to do that because weekend schools usually are at the masjid, and so you don't really have to do all of that. But if you are going to be a standalone school, then you pretty much have to separate. And I would,
And
I
I
would
want to
actually
add,
advise it. I would actually advise it because you control your funding better. And then also, if you are going after state grants and different things, they can't, for example, they can allow a child to have a voucher to come to a religious school, but they can't give a child a voucher to go to a specific church or a
house
masjid.
of worship.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. And I'm a
Yeah, and I
grant
wanted
writer,
to
so I
add to
know
what
that
Dr. Khan
separation.
said. Go ahead, Marsha.
No, I was just saying. So my profession is grant writing, and I know that when certain funds come in, right, you can't. There are certain
Co-mingling.
restrictions, right?
Mhm.
Restrictions that are connected to the religious institution. So part of the reason me asking is just to put that clarity out there for our schools and how they're currently structured, and if it's in a favorable way for the goal that they're trying to accomplish.
And so what I wanted to say something about that, because the way that we are structured, our school, we clearly say, is under the auspices of the Atlanta Masjid. We have our own 501c3 as a school. We have our own bylaws, and we have our own board of directors, and the Masjid has its own board of directors. So what Dr. Khan is saying, we operate independently, even though we are a part of the masjid. So we can clearly state that we are a part of the masjid and still have our independence. And I'm saying that because I know that there are some masjids and schools that are afraid of that separation. So it's not that you are leaving the masjid or, really separating yourself from the masjid. It's as far as governance goes, then the school's operating on its own legs, and the masjid operates on its own legs. And we rely on our community. However, it's a part of our planning as a school. It is not necessarily we have to have the masjid in there in order to function. And I think that's important for us to note for those schools that are reluctant to make that separation.
Yeah, and I think it's helpful for us to be saying that here on this show, right? I think it's helpful for those who are viewing to be able to hear that, because there's a lot of misconception out there about what is and is not acceptable, what can and cannot happen, what is best practice. And so as our schools are working toward reaching accreditation, it's just important to know some of these things, and particularly from those in our community that have gone through it or are going through it, right, and can give us those firsthand accounts for what works. So I just wanted to make sure that we share that in this space, so that they had that. I see that Sister Mahassan is with us. I don't know if she's able to come off of mute, but she is definitely one of our trailblazers as it relates to Clara Muhammad schools. That school has been in existence for over 50 years, and she's been a large part of it. So if you're able to come off of mute, Sister Mahassan, we would love to hear from you. But if not, we're just glad to have you in the space for what your institution represents for our community. Let's see. We probably can't get off of mute, but that's all right. I figured I would try. So I mean, accreditation, it's like I said when we started, it feels like this daunting thing. And as we've been having this discussion this evening, it does, right? It has a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of pieces to it. But it sounds like some of the takeaways is that, if, pray for a good reviewer, like Dr. Henry said.
Yes. Prayer does work.
but also, be open to the process, right? It is a process, and it's not. And I've worked with accreditation on a higher education level, right? And then just in general with some of the work I do now that's not necessarily connected to a school. A lot of times we do look at that process as a, oh man, they coming in and they're gonna get us. Or at my job, they always like, oh, they're coming to ding us. That's the terminology they use in my job, right? But when you think about these accreditation processes, right, it really is. It feels almost like a self-evaluation, right? Like let's look at our institution and see what we have, see what we don't have, see what we have to do to get the thing that we don't have, and then we're working toward this model of excellence. And I think that that's a great thing. It's about changing perspective as it relates to it. But yeah, this has been a good conversation. I think it'll help to kind of quell some of the nervousness around accreditation, but also allow us to take a step back and look at what the possibility is. Dr. Patricia, did you have something? I saw you come off of mute.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that that this conversation, I hope encourage those schools that have not stepped into that realm, that it encourages you, because we talk to our sisters in Nashville. We listen to what they're saying and what they're doing. It's courage. That's all you need is courage, and that the prayer. You make your du'as and you put on your courage and you go for it. And Allah will help you along the way. They can attest to that. They can say, yes, that has happened. They can share that with you. And then you feel, you feel so good about yourself, because you realize, oh yeah, we're doing that. Oh yeah, we can do this. And oh, we got that. And then it makes, and the things that you don't have that you should have, it strengthens your school. It strengthens what you can offer for your children. And this is such a benefit to the community and to your students and to yourself. So if you haven't done it, if you haven't even thought about doing, please think about it. If you haven't done it, take off that fear. Don't, fear only Allah. Fear only Allah. Take off that fear and let's get going, because we want to make our schools a place that a place of strength, a place that we can be very happy that we are doing the best that we can do for our children. So thank you, Nashville. You know what to do. Alhamdulillah. Of course, Muhammad Schools of Atlanta, you guys been doing it for a long time. But Nashville is, they're like our poster child, where you can see this is what you got to do. Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Nashville.
Yes.
But it's all, even though we've been in it for 25 years, remember, it's a growth process.
Right.
It's about continuous improvement. We can't be where we were 15 years ago or 25 years ago. We have got to be better, We've got to keep moving forward, with that. And Sister Karan and I, as our board chair for Atlanta, she and I will be having a discussion very soon about, our visit, our review process is coming up in 26, and how we demonstrate that we are better now.
Yes. And please remember, the relationship you have with that cognitive person is very crucial. And also, there's no such thing as a stupid question.
Right.
That's how you gain information. Now the answer may seem a little off kill, but you have to keep asking the right question. It doesn't bother me if somebody keeps asking questions, because at least I know either I didn't explain myself well enough that they understand, or they still have something that they're trying to make sure they're on the right path. And that's the goal of that lead evaluator with you. You're a team. It's not you against them. But yes, I remember when they would come in, and Laura, we would make sure everything was in place, and
and assign only certain rooms that we knew teachers were going to be doing what they were supposed to be doing. No, they're going to come in and walk through that building and see what you're doing and go from there. Kids are going to be kids. A true administrator, educator knows there's no such thing as a perfect day in a school. Something's always going to happen. And it shouldn't count off against you because it did. So, yes.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So we have a bunch of jewels that we're taking from this conversation tonight, and I just appreciate you all for being with us, for us being able to see accreditation from different points, right? For the school that's going through it, for the institution that's been through it, and kind of is on that cycle of continuous improvement for each accreditation cycle that you enter. And then also from the reviewer side of it was helpful to hear it from all of those standpoints. And we encourage our schools and the Clara Muhammad Schools Network to, if you're not already accredited, to consider accreditation, even if you're at the point of reopening or opening an institution in your area. Just think of that as the end goal, that the setup is the best foundation that you can possibly have for your institution. And with that, we thank you all for joining us this evening on the power of educating our own. Tonight's discussion was about accreditation and getting to that point of excellence as it relates to our institutions. And I wanted to give you the exact title. There we go. Raising the Bar, Accreditation in the Pursuit of Educational Excellence. And that's the goal. That's really the goal for what it is that we do. And as Dr. Khan pointed out, it's on that cycle of continuous improvement. So even when you do achieve accreditation, it's always about, are we better today than we were yesterday? Are we better than we were a year ago? And so on and so forth. And we'll be back in this space next Sunday at 7 p.m. and we'll be talking more about accreditation. Tonight we talked about the experience connected to Cognia as being the accreditor, and next week we'll have CISNA on.
Okay.
And I'm gonna mess this up, but help me out. The Council for Islamic Schools in North America. Did I get that right? Okay. I got it right. So yeah, we're gonna have that conversation, and it was good tonight to find out that there's a connection between the standards of the two. That was helpful as well. So we'll be back in this space next week, 7 p.m. You're watching The Power of Educating Our Own. Assalamu alaikum. Until next time.
Like,
Assalamu alaikum.